Yeah. So I guess. All right, calling it to order then. Can you read the sign notice, Christine?
This is a regular meeting of the Environmental Commission of the Borough of Fairhaven. In accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, public meetings may be held in person or by means of communication equipment to include streaming services and other online meeting platforms. This meeting is being held in person and through the Zoom meeting platform being broadcast from Borough Hall, 748 River Road, Fairhaven, New Jersey. Public participation for this meeting on April 10th, 2024 is available by call-in phone number or through Zoom. Members of the public will be on mute until it is time for questions, comments, which will be announced. At that time, the public has the opportunity to question, comment by phone or through Zoom by the raise hand button and will be called on at the appropriate time. Notice of this meeting was sent to the Asbury Park Press, the Two River Times, and the Star Ledger on January 26, 2024. Posted on the Borough website, the bulletin board in the municipal building, and has remained continuously posted as required under the statute. With adequate notice having been given, the Environmental Commission Secretary is directed to include this statement in the minutes of the meeting.
All right. Just in time for pledge of allegiance.
Well, you start good.
Yeah. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So my target is
all good.
business.
And,
Okay.
all right,
I wasn't the last one.
yeah. And we're good for roll call.
Make it look that.
All right. All good.
All right,
Just on the roll call.
roll call.
Anna Antonin.
Here.
William Dorner.
Here.
Kelly Flanagan.
Here.
Susan Globus. Here. Jesse White here. Gary Patterson.
Here.
John Peters.
Here.
Ryan Rice.
Here.
Also present, Councilman Olson and Secretary Larson. You have a quorum.
Thank you.
Everybody's here.
Approval of the March 13th meeting minutes. Any questions? Corrections? And motion to approve?
I abstained since I wasn't.
No? Okay.
So,
Second. Thank you. Current business.
yeah, all right. I know, I watched the meeting since I wasn't able to make it, and I know there's some discussion of an ERI subcommittee. There's some emails going on. We unfortunately didn't have, weren't able to meet prior to tonight. But I think next Monday works for everybody.
And if there's anybody else that wants to be part or help out with the ERI, John, I know you mentioned maybe last time that you'd want to be a part of that too, or interest, or just with maps solely.
Yeah, I'm happy to help out. Just give me guidance, okay?
Great, thank you.
I guess we can coordinate time. I know it's Monday. I don't know where, what time. I think 7's a good time for me. That work for,
Monday evening,
yeah.
is that the
Yeah.
request?
Yeah, 7 next Monday.
Should be okay.
And then, and I guess just
Yeah.
like the location, Chris, do you know if Bicentennial Hall will be open by chance or?
Go to
Time,
three.
yeah, I can look upstairs and let you know.
All right, if not, we can just, we'll coordinate via email then, and then,
You can use my office if you want. I don't charge a lot.
okay.
Are you guys writing,
Studio
are you guys writing the?
Yeah, if you want Zoom, I have Zoom.
It sounds like from the last meeting that it's gonna be something that we're gonna undertake, but I think we just need to get a group together to figure out how to divide and conquer. I did review the Rumson ERI, and I really liked the end of it, how they had that whole section on suggestions. So I think I'm kind of leaning towards like, maybe we can have just some like minor updates to the actual report. And then just maybe have that section on some highlighted suggestions and recommendations like Rumson did. I really like that. I think that might take away from all the initial like appendices and things that we were talking about doing and adding to it. Since we don't have a consultant working on this. So I think maybe that's on the way to go for right now. And then with those suggestions, maybe that can lead to in the future, maybe get a consultant to actually pull some of these documents together that we want to do. So those are some thoughts I had initially, but looking forward to chatting with the group, I guess, on Monday and have some more next
And
meeting.
if anybody wants a copy, obviously you should all have a copy of ours, but if anyone wants to take a look at that from Sim, ERI too, prior to that meeting, we have that.
Is this the one right here? Just make sure I'm on the right page.
No, that's
No,
Rutgers.
That's
Rutgers?
That's, yeah. So the ERI, it's posted obviously
It's on
on
our,
the
yeah,
website,
it's on our
On the
website.
website, I just wanna make sure.
And Christie's also emailed it
right?
to everybody. as
Yeah.
well.
Oh, here it is, the annual report of the environment.
Not the annual report.
No.
It's a 2017 document.
It'll be 2017.
Oh, here,
Environmental resource inventory.
oh, here it is, resource inventory. I have-
That's it.
Yeah,
All
okay.
right, awesome.
If you're missing anything, just I can. You know.
All right, so guess we'll have some more updates at the next meeting.
Stormwater management, Jesse and Kelly.
So I know talk has been about just getting that document, that brochure, do it yourself, kind of cost effective suggestions. I have that. But Jesse and I will meet
Yeah,
and talk about that and further it up. But that's all I have.
no, we've been meeting to,
No.
Get together.
We're gonna connect.
yeah, we've been busy.
Yeah.
It's been crazy.
Rain garden, Anna and Kelly again.
The rain garden we haven't gotten together.
Well, we haven't, but we're, I know the last conversation we had at the last meeting was that we believe we'll be able to earmark some funds from the estuary art show that's happening next Friday at Bicentennial Hall. And it was outlined that the AME church, the current church, would be a location for a rain garden. So our thought process was we could, potentially build one there with some of the money that we raise from the art show. So I circulated that to the group that's in charge of the art show. Everybody was obviously on board. Once we're done with the show on Friday, it goes through Sunday. We'll have a better idea of what we come out with and what we can allocate to it. So I'd be happy to give you guys an update once that's done.
What's the location again at the church?
So it's one of the Rutgers recommendations from the 2017 report. It's right outside the AME church.
Ah.
Right on, and one of the thoughts too was because they've been so generous to the town for using their parking during the construction, that it might be a nice, way to help out, pay back and beautify, help establish a rain garden there, which was also recommended to help, but it's just a nice gesture as well.
I remember there was some back and forth with you and Teresa and me about Borough property.
So
Where do we end up on that?
the issue with the ANJAC grant, that for $1,500 for a rain garden that we were trying to talk about, is that it has to be on public property.
Yeah.
And so this is not on public property, but perhaps, as Anna mentioned, using some of the funds from the estuary, whether we have funds in our budget we want to include, whether it's just volunteers and donations. If the EC wants to get a rain garden out there and wants to kind of take action on this report that was delivered to us 7 years ago, it's still valid, and we haven't done anything but the Knollwood Rain Garden on that of the 12 or 10 locations we
I
did.
think it was 11, but yeah.
This would be a good way to kind of check that off the box, and it seems like an appropriate time after, with the completion or towards that police station.
Definitely.
So,
Keep on me if you need me.
Yeah.
Because the requests come in 10 at a time and I only do one at a time. So they get backlogged, so just don't let me drop it.
Sure, sure, and we'll, and obviously. Rain garden, you ideally wanna do it, either in the spring or the fall, but it looks like probably this timeline will probably be better situated for the fall, because you have to get the buy-in too from the church.
Yep.
It's their property, see what the funds are, and it might just be better to do it in the fall anyway, because of,
We have to go dormant, so
Yeah.
it's a great time of year to do
it's
it.
not as hot. You don't need as much stress, with water in and everything. And that way we can have a plan.
Sounds good.
Okay.
I'm trying to let my wife into my parents' house.
Hey, Anna, can you just remind me, what time is the art show? Do you happen to know? Like, I know it's
Yeah.
Friday this Sunday, but.
It's the 19th from 5 to 8.
Awesome.
And then you can go in throughout the weekend if you miss that and come see. We're leaving the art up all weekend in this chapel. So
Awesome. Thanks.
Great. Thank you.
Did you say our show is at Fish Chapel or Bicentennial Hall?
It's historic.
sorry. Yeah, it's the same. Yeah. It's at Bicentennial Hall, but
Okay.
interchangeable.
And that's the 19th,
Next Friday.
right?
Friday, Sunday, Sunday.
And that's adults only Friday, correct?
21
That's
more.
correct.
Fine.
It's adults only.
Yeah,
Mhm.
alcohol.
Yeah.
No, it's
Art
alcohol.
show.
Saturday and Sunday is
Mhm.
with the kids.
Nice, okay.
Yeah.
Tuxedo.
I'll go, yeah.
Formal wear. Yeah.
The art is for sale, and that sale will benefit the farmers market.
My neighbors will run the block. for me, so I'll buy on it.
That's a great thing.
And it's 5 to 9.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. What else we got?
Kelly's on fire.
Yeah, Kelly again.
Green team, right? Is that it?
Yep.
I think you're good.
Okay.
Yeah. And your
Big
duties.
Stuff happening with Green Team, is Love Where You Live Day. We're getting ready for Love Where You Live Day. And we really, would use any of the help from the EC and from volunteers that we can get. It is for Sunday, May 5th, from 1 to 4. This Cinco de Mayo, we will have Dos Banditos there selling,
Oh.
Mexican food
Okay.
and
That's
maybe even a
smart.
Mexican band. So.
Oh, you have the mariachis,
We might
okay.
buy treats, and
Nice.
it's gonna be a great time. Why not? It's a big celebration.
And it's
But-
that street jail, yeah.
And the thing is, it's going to be on Third Street Trail. Different from Bicentennial Hall. Bicentennial is a wonderful place. It's getting a lot of deserved love and attention, but there's other places in town that need this love and
That's a
attention.
great idea. Check it out.
And, Third Street Trail has been a tremendous story of revitalization, community effort, volunteerism in this town, and we want to celebrate that and show people what the before and after, what has actually happened and taken place. Who have been the leaders of it, the volunteers, the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, the Garden Club, all these great people that have come together. It is also the 50th anniversary of Fairhaven Fields, when the community got together, all groups to purchase that lot. So celebrating that, foresight and that decision. So it's gonna be a great, hopefully let's pray for great weather. We will also showcase a pollinator garden, which is the other fold, right? The Sustainable Jersey grant that we got, that pollinator garden will be planted and, some of it has been started, but we hope to plant and have people help plant it that day as well. What is a pollinator garden? Why to have it? How can you do this at your house? Some of the other, things we're going to try to show people about invasives, how to clear invasives from your home as well. So it's gonna be a great community event. And we are hoping for, any volunteers from the EC or around town, to come by and take a look. It should be a fun afternoon.
Are you gonna have any before pictures, like the
Yes.
display?
Yes, because
Awesome.
I mean, they say pictures worth that, like it
No,
really is, you
absolutely.
should see the before and the after
Yeah.
lines. And there's just, it's a beautiful spot, and I think a lot of people overlook it or don't even know that it's there. and the potential of what we can then do with the remaining acreage that's there to be cleared. What about the bird sanctuary? So the garden club's invited, shade tree, all the committees are. And we're still working on reaching out and kind of forming that plan, but Dos Benditos is in. So,
Fun, should be.
Well, I will break out my sombrero.
yeah.
Dos Equis.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm partially Modelo. Thank you.
Yes.
Navasink River, we did have a meeting, and basically, the water quality is continuing to improve. I don't know if I have any data prior to the last time I shared it, but if I do, I'll send it to everybody from the state. But we're still on pretty much on point, or, on schedule to have an upgrade unless something happens, that we can't plan.
By when?
I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
that's
the tricky
Yeah.
part, as you know. So it's done on a geometric mean, so it's over a 3-year time span, but it's looking good, The water's clear, which doesn't mean it's clean. And we've taken care of some of the issues in our town in terms, and it's all around people just picking up after their dogs. Even people think that they can just leave it on their own lawns, but most, if you water a creek, everything flows into the river. So it's an educational thing. But I'm gonna say within the year. Yeah, so yeah. So that's really all I have on the river. And McCarter Pond, I do have a resolution here from the town that was passed to award the second phase of the hydro raking project to Aquaclear. So I can share this with everybody, but I don't know when they're gonna do it. Did they say anything in the timing? Don't know, right?
Is that gonna cover the whole area?
So from pretty much the north end of the pond to probably about midway, 3/4 of the way to, to the end of it was done. So now they're gonna do the back part of the pond. So we will see that done. Don't know timing, but I guess as we get closer, we'll find out. But that's the resolution if everybody wants to look at it. So that's good news. Deer mitigation, we are on the agenda for May's meeting,
13.
right? May 13th. So probably a good idea for some of us to show up at the meeting. And, kind of give our, I don't know how much we're gonna talk about it, but it's really to have Jody and her team from the state come in and educate and share, some of their thoughts and past projects and, that they've done with other towns. And it's really, again, it's an educational thing. So
Would we
that,
want to invite some of the other like stakeholders to this, such as like rec or the natural area, just to give them a heads up that it is happening, so that they
yeah,
can be educated?
I
about it?
think definitely we'll reach out to Carolyn from the natural area committee and let her know about it. DJ, I don't know, the rec committee, but yeah, it's definitely a good idea, sure.
Yeah, but
We'll
Deer
reach out.
impacts, I mean, I was just in the
Sure.
baseball field and the deer is running right through the middle of the baseball time, so it's just, I'm sure there's,
Yeah,
The, I've been pretty vocal with the shade tree and natural area. And the point I would make is to have the environmental group supporting it, I think goes a long way, because it's counterintuitive, right, to kill deer. It's kind of anti-environment, but when everyone can talk about how they eat the new trees and they, all the damage they do. And having those groups locally support at the meeting, I think would be helpful. for anyone on the council that's nervous about, well, I'm gonna vote yes, I'm gonna vote to start as soon as they can.
Right. Thank you.
Because the damage
Right.
far outweighs.
Yeah.
But I don't know if anyone else is hung up on the concept or not, but I think that would help a lot.
Mm.
alleviate those
Right.
concerns.
So yeah, we'll definitely reach out to everybody. And let
So
them-
more educated about it.
And, yeah, give them a heads up.
But this is a good thing for the environment.
Sure.
So I think it's positive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
It needs to be done.
And it's the only option, fortunately or unfortunately.
And we're going towards a good cause on top of
Correct,
it.
yeah,
so-
well, that was my thing is
You know?
that when I, first thought about it was to really promote it as a, good thing for the environment and then also, yeah, giving back to, the community, and not make it, a hunt just to kill and, for your own use. So unless, Gary, do you have anything to add?
Hi, hey, how are you? No, I think I think everybody's generally in support, but I guess it's just the logistics of the hunt is the thing that we have to work out on our end.
Mhm.
People are concerned, about safety or
That's
or
the big
or a deer, whatever, with an arrow stumbling into somebody's yard and dying in the, so I don't know if they're going to get into any of the, the logistics of the and how it's going to be done.
I'm sure people will ask about the safety.
Yeah,
sure.
they'll ask and I can chime in,
Yeah.
show them, I know, I have some of the statistics in my head in terms of, if there's been any accidents between, a hunter and a civilian, which in the state there hasn't been. But I think that's gonna be the major concern is the safety of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think, all of us here are kind of in agreement, that it would be beneficial, but yeah, that would be the first step to convince everybody that it's beneficial, which I think
Yeah.
should
Is it
be
fair
not
for-
that difficult, but
Sorry, Gary.
Hmm?
Is it fair that I could say in the council meeting that the environmental commission supports the deer hunt? Is there anyone who opposes it?
I think we
Unanimous?
voted on it.
Yeah, I think I'd support it.
Yeah, I think we.
Feels like it is, but I want to make sure
Yes,
you guys are okay with that.
I would leave it as more of a mitigation plan versus a hunt. I don't know if that's more.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
it's.
And we support
mitigation.
mitigation, whoever that is versus a hunt.
Good. So I will say
Yeah.
that. If it becomes
Sounds
tougher,
better.
we can just go through. We'll do it the way it's-
Yeah, I'm sure that, any individual who's anti-hunting is always gonna have an issue,
Right.
with it, and I've dealt with it my whole life. But I think it's an easier topic and an easier, sale when you're talking, when everybody's getting, experiencing damage from the deer, right? It's not just the fields. So, once people understand that it's really the only option, it is what it is.
I think, wasn't it Kristen that struck a deer with her car?
I believe so.
Yes,
Yeah.
and she's on the council, so she had a personal incident.
That's our current deer mitigation plan, by the way,
Right, okay,
cars.
cars, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I know.
It's pretty much it. It is,
It's
it
the
is,
side of the road, yeah.
it is, and, it's an issue, so. That's really all I have from the deer mitigation side, so it's very good to see that it made the, made it onto a council meeting and. we'll
The
see where
agenda
it goes
simply
from
go
there.
out the Thursday before, so I can forward the link to, all the, you
All the
guys, whoever,
stakeholders.
and you can feel free, obviously, to forward it to whoever.
Great, thank you.
yeah. I mean, I would
Um,
say most of the people I've spoken to it about, like just, in person, have been supportive of it, but
Same here.
the concept of it, anyway, yeah. The details are another thing, but anyway.
Planning board update, Anna.
Yeah, not really much to report from planning board. We did we discussed a minor subdivision last week. So it was an interesting proposal that was brought to us. Did seem like there was some clear cutting on one of the properties that was being sold. So that I was hung up significantly on that, if I'm being honest with you, because as the liaison to the environmental committee, some pretty large trees were taken down without approval. It kind of made me think about the repercussions of something like that. If that's, if there is a fine that is, issued to someone who preemptively takes down trees without seeking approval from council, or if that's, obviously maybe not in our hands, but yeah, that was really kind of all that we discussed. It took up the majority of the meeting last week. I think there's going to be a few more things going on at the next meeting regarding even that same property. So I can, report back if anything happens, but I do wonder who's responsible for clear cutting those trees in a property like that. The owner was kind of pointed the blame on their landscapers, which was super disingenuous. It just seemed like they were trying to pass the buck. I think that it might be time for us to consider some stricter tree ordinances. If, people are coming in and they just think they have the ability to cut down, pretty significant large tree coverage in their yards without even knowing that it was right or wrong. So that was really what I took from that last meeting.
Okay.
Brian, question?
Yes,
Do we know who the landscape contractor was?
I have not heard about this.
No,
No.
again, I think it's something we should query about because landscape contractors who work in the community should be aware of the laws and ordinances. And if the owner is going to throw them under the bus, then I think we should go after the landscape contractor and throw them under the bus, and maybe they'll turn around and throw the owner back under the bus. But I
Yeah,
certainly
it
think
does.
we shouldn't just let it pass as a behavior,
Yeah, I think that there, you can kind of, you could see right through that was who was to blame for it. But I agree. I mean, if all of the contractors in town are aware, and it seems like the majority of them are, like, you cannot just cut down trees in this town. It's a process. It's a massive process.
Yeah, I thought, Christy, they have to know the rules, don't they, if they're gonna work in town?
In order to do any work in town, you're supposed to be registered, and when you register, we get their certifications, their certificate of insurance, they get our calendar when they're allowed to put stuff out. And then if you apply for a tree removal permit, we cross-check that to make sure their tree removal company is registered so that they know that.
They didn't apply. That's the
Well, that's
issue.
their job though, Anna. That's their job. You know what I mean? In the sense that we turn to them and say, well, you should have known. And then I get the question is who should be paying the fine for this?
The homeowner.
Well, it could be, and again, this question really comes back to, should that contractor be allowed to operate then? Should it be something that should be?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's
And say,
I think
okay,
that's
if you
a
can't
fair,
work by the rules.
So there
that's a
is
fair,
the Shade Tree Commission has been working on a tree ordinance and we're still working on it.
No, but there's one in place, there is one in
Right.
place, Brian. I mean, they just
There is.
decided to violate it.
But I was gonna say that the two versions that are floating both contemplate a penalty for this kind of activity.
Yeah, no, I got that, but I think again, given the fact that they're registered contractors, they should be, the question is, can they maintain that status if they violate the rules?
If they're registered.
Sure. And
I
then
think
I have
that's
another question though, too. I understand this tree ordinance, which is taking a lot longer than anybody wanted it to be revised. And as a result, our tree ordinance that we have right now isn't ideal. It doesn't offer a fine that would dissuade people from cutting down as much. But I do agree with you, John, that I think that threatening their ability to do work in this town is also a loss of business, is a major setback and deterrent for somebody to do this type of work. But the second
Well, and
thing.
it's also gonna tune up others who might think they should do this.
Sure, right.
know, and
You
I'm a
know,
big
to be like,
fan
I
of-
lost my license to do stuff in Fairhaven, you know, it's no joke.
Yeah,
It gives more teeth to it, but, you know, apart from just the tree, is there any way the Environmental Commission weighs in on, that tree is not just in terms of a tree, but the benefit of the stormwater, the benefit of the cooling, shade effect, the benefit of the cleaner air, that all falls under the auspice of the Environmental Commission. If there's any way that, whether, I don't know if it's like our input on that, or you just make it a broader picture, or like just the value of what a tree is to the environment of Fairhaven, which is so much more than just that living being, right? I mean, because we're talking about stormwater and the river, and just because it's clean, doesn't mean it's a clean river. And also the cooling effect and the air quality, which we can get into air quality in Fairhaven, and what that index is a whole nother story.
Those concepts are all talked about in both versions.
Okay, but I just wonder, like, does the EC weigh in on any of this? Should we? I don't know. Do we have a part? I don't know.
Whatever,
Who
so,
enforces? Who
so,
enforces
yeah,
it?
so we have a code enforcement officer in town, one of the, members of the police department. Whenever I, see something or get a call, I call him right away, and he's extremely, he's very diligent, and he gets it. So I was not aware of this. And, it's gonna be he said, she said, right? But at the end of the day, the homeowner has to take the responsibility, right?
Yeah, no,
Um,
Brian, but if they did the
so-
work illegally, Brian, if they did the work illegally, then the contractor does have some role in this, right?
Absolutely, but the fine, and, right now, as the ordinance stands, I don't believe that there is any fine,
No, I'm not worried
Yeah.
about a fine. I just want to pull their ability to work.
and I don't believe there's any language in it that says that we, have the authority to not allow the contractor to come into town. I don't know that
Well, have we
to
seen,
be,
right?
I
Well,
haven't
they
seen.
agreed to abide by the rules, right? In the signing,
Correct.
Christie, of the signing of the agreement to work.
Right.
Either they A, working illegally, or B, they're breaking the rules we said they agreed to work by.
Yeah, I'll have to look deeper into
I'll have
it.
to take a look
and
at it.
Find out, right,
yeah, I
Yeah,
think it's
we-
just worth it, leaving that experience, I think it's worth it to take a like a two-pronged approach to this. Like, the homeowner completely disregarded the processes that were in place, and I told him that when people want to take trees down, it is not an easy process, and rightfully so. They come into council, they speak in front of council, they have plans, and the fact that he was brazen about this shows that he doesn't care about any of the rules that are in place. So, if that's the mentality towards this, it's just an unacceptable precedent for that to set. And I think that we need to be more severe in the way that we're handling these even one-off situations. Leaving that, I was like, this guy just didn't care. Even if he does get fined, I don't think he would care. But that's not the mentality that's not what we should just allow. It has to be stronger, especially because
I
more
agree.
people are coming from out of town and they may not know the processes that are in place. So you just have to, I think that we need to step up and put a little more, just put a little more severity behind this. Because I don't think it's going to stop.
I wish this was the first time I've been to the rodeo, but I've been around this one a few more times, so.
Yeah.
That's why I'd argue that we just want to make it difficult on the contractor, because then maybe the next person will have a harder time finding someone to break the rules, right?
Yeah,
I agree.
it's a good
Right.
different approach. Yeah.
Yeah.
To it.
I'll look
Is
into
there
it.
anything in there, Brian? I mean, I know you've been eyed on it and working with the shade tree on this.
So there's a requirement that the contractors have to be permitted. But all the monetary fines run to the homeowner.
Right.
I don't recall anything and there's an older version right, that still, is there. The newer version is, a model ordinance created by the New Jersey Shade Tree Federation. So they've had input from many people, and that's the one I'm more familiar with. It's like 6 pages, the other one is 23. And I read legal documents for a living, and I have trouble understanding it. And it's maybe good, but it's just really hard for me to grasp it.
So there's a simple solution, just like with our dock building business. The customer can say, yep, I have a permit, right? Well, I need a copy, just like any other building project, right? We're doing our house. I couldn't do anything until I gave the contractor the permits. Most contractors go get the permits themselves. So it should be in there that the contractor has to have a copy of the permit, and then they know. If they don't have a copy of the permit, they'll not do the work. That's
Well,
it.
The first stop on it will be through the Shade Tree Commission, once they, agree on something, then maybe we can share it.
Yeah,
around
that would be
the
good.
groups.
I mean, that's.
Right,
that's
cause I
the
know the
simple
last,
solution.
the last one went to zoning and planning and to different groups. And just, it's valid, and that we're all stakeholders in this, right? The trees are not just under the auspice of the Shade Tree Commission, which I know that they are, but like they just, they
It's
touch
still
on
under
our
us.
stuff too. And having this, maybe a different new approach of then putting it on the contractor or, having that as a punishment.
It's a simple thing. They have to be registered
Could
with the
be-
town,
could
and they
add
have to have a
little
copy of
weight
the
to
permit.
it. Yeah,
That's it.
right? So,
And
It's like
then
a zoning,
all-
it's like a building variance, a building
That's
violation.
what I said, same thing,
Yes.
same thing. Our
Why not?
contractors will not do the work
Sure.
unless they see the permit,
Why should this be different?
and it
right?
shouldn't be any different. All right, council update, Councilman Olson.
Let's see, so we took a couple more steps with the borough administrator and the CFO, so we're a couple steps closer. It feels like we're getting close, anything can change. That's sort of exciting. And then the brush and leaf, the changes, we're gonna have a couple open houses here at Borough Hall Thursday, this week, and then on April 27th. Same kind of thing with the deer mitigation. I can tell you, I have heard an earful, and I'm sort of tangentially involved, people don't like change. And so if we can get support from groups like the AC, with friends and neighbors and come to an open house. This is gonna make the stormwater problems a lot better. It's gonna keep the pipes from getting plugged up by removing a lot of material that just sits on the streets. It's not gonna remove all of it, but I think it's gonna go a long way. So any help that you guys can give will be appreciated, because a lot of people don't like to change. I'm personally of the mind that if we implement it and then a year from now, if it changed again, people would be mad about that too. So it's the one that's change.
It's the initial
So
change.
people are need to get used to it, but having support from groups like this would help.
Would they be interested in having a table at Love Where You Live Day? Having
That's a
representation,
good idea. I can
That's
actually-
a good idea.
as there's a lot of brush that come from there, just people coming in, talking about how this is beneficial to the environment.
They might need to wear helmets, but. I'll ask Drew and Kristen.
Okay,
So the last thing is, I want to talk about the budget. So we introduced the budget this last meeting, and then it will be up for a vote in the next meeting. It's my first budget. I've learned a lot about the process. And working with our CFO and Teresa and Nancy, I was able to get some money for maintenance for the natural area to battle invasives. And I'm thinking, now that I've been through it once, it's a little bit easier for me to understand, and I'd like this group to think about what we could do for next year's budget. There's 3 ways to spend money. You get it in the budget at the beginning, You do an emergency appropriation, or you do a bond ordinance. The last two are very hard.
Yeah.
The first one is not. The budget starts getting formed in the fall. So that's why I asked about the ERI. If we're gonna do a consultant, that's the time, right, to bring that up, and I can work to try to get it in. I will tell you that, we have a couple of restrictive policies imposed on us by the state. And one of them is our appropriations cap, which is the amount of money we can appropriate. This doesn't, it's sort of connected to what we spend, but it's not directly. And we have very little room. So we're bumping up against that ceiling all the time. So it is hard to get new items in, but once they're in, they can be sticky. And so something like, $5,000 or $10,000 or what, I'm making up a number for professional consulting services for the EC, would be something that I think would be good. It just makes life a lot easier if it goes that route rather than, the more difficult route. So if you guys want to think about, I wouldn't do a big list because then it'll be harder because we'd have the money. But we had to cut $550,000 out of our budget. Back in line with the regulations. So just put that on your radar and think about it for the fall. I'd love to be your advocate and get some resources for you.
Great, thank you.
I just have a question going back,
Yes.
to Love Regular Day. Now, does the EC want to have a table at Love Regular Day and have a representation, talking about whether it's stormwater in the river or the ringer, or just thinking about what presence the EC wants to have and highlight? Anybody have any? Or to just think about that, like what volunteers can come, we'd love to have you, like, and if we want to kind of highlight stormwater, you talk about like the importance of cleanup dog waste, and again, people still don't realize, and we had that issue last year where I was hand delivering info sheets to the neighbors that lived on the creek that were where the waste was coming out and creating these, high bacterial readings in the river, so just again, just kind of reiterating that, and how important it is. So if that's what our team wants to do, or talk about river and, the stormwater and highlight that. And then I have another question too, Brian.
Yes,
What was, you mentioned AquaClear?
yes,
What is-
well,
what is
it's,
AquaClear? What is that?
so I have a bunch of stuff there. So it's it's Aquaterra Environmental, I can pass it around.
That's the vendor.
That's the vendor. There's only, from what I understand, and the research that I did years ago, there's really only two. There's only two companies it's AquaClear. In the state that, that does this process of hydro raking.
Sure.
The one we hired first,
That's
we
it.
all know what
Yeah.
happened with that, so.
Is this the group that did the second?
Correct.
Okay.
So from my standpoint, there's only one
That knows how to do
that
it.
is reliable
Okay.
to do this work.
Mhm.
So here's if you wanna look at it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
Right, yeah, when the first company came in, I saw them unloading equipment and I was,
Downhill from there.
it was all brand new. So, usually gives you a little,
It's just fun.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
Okay.
you want the guy with the old beat up
Sure.
truck and all that, yeah. Pants that are all worn out, the whole 9 yards. So. That's, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and so if anybody has any input on Love Regular Day or anything, but I do think,
Is it Wednesday?
It's
Yeah,
a Sunday,
on Sunday.
May 5th.
May?
Oh,
Cinco de Mayo.
Sorry, yes,
Okay.
May 5th, 1 to 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Rain date would be the 4th.
I can help out. I can't talk about deer mitigation because I don't know enough about it, but I can certainly talk about stormwater and,
Perfect.
yeah.
Great.
And do we have a table we can do all
So we
that?
will be having, DJ and DPW will be supplying tables, so I'm trying to get a count
Okay.
on tables, and then we can, display, I believe we have literature on dog.
I was gonna say, do we, I was
water.
We
gonna say, if we
If
had.
we
more
can get
handouts or
that-
something.
Yeah. okay.
That brochure, the stormwater
Yeah.
brochure, you know, that would be a good thing too, to have a
Yeah.
DIY, like, you know, low cost solutions that you can do, rain garden in your yard, rain barrel,
Mhm.
impervious treatment. Did you? Awesome. Now all the rain would be in, and
Oh.
it's a
Give
lot.
away some, give away some dog food
It's
bags.
Do
crazy.
we want to talk about deer mitigation there? I can't do it.
I
don't know
mean, I
if-
can,
That's,
Stormwater's a
I think
big one.
dear,
It covers
we
a
might
lot.
wanna say.
if somebody,
There is a meeting coming up at council,
Right.
the
Yeah.
13th, to
Yeah.
come learn more. I
Only
think
if they're-
That's a great.
yeah, but
idea.
only if they're pro.
Yeah, because the thing is, we got the negatives and then it
Yeah.
becomes a.
So, yeah,
So I
so,
think after the Jody's presentation, it's very hard to not
right,
agree.
I would say that if people,
Sure,
you know, bring up questions about it,
okay.
I'll definitely answer them. And anybody else
There
that
might be
feels
deer
comfortable.
There.
Oh, they'll be there, the deer will be there. The other day I was using one of my, battery powered blowers, and they're pretty loud, and the deer just looked at it,
Mhm.
literally just sat there.
Yeah, so, okay, well, that'd be great,
Yeah.
Susan, and anyone else that wants to volunteer, I think we could put a display on stormwater.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if we have that, you know, some literature,
Yeah, we have some, we can print out some flyers and stuff,
right?
for it.
Maybe you could
Um,
talk about the river too, and just, you know, the trends
Mhm.
and how to keep it.
Yeah, I get involved on social media with it, and it's a big, huge mistake. Because everybody, you know, assumes that it's
Bring the data.
dirty, right,
And
and
then
then I send out the
numbers,
data
yeah.
and, you know, one guy called me the D word. And I'm like, dude, you don't even know, man, he lived in like Hamilton. You know, and I'm like, and then so I went on this big thing on the head of this, that, and the other, and here's the data, and forget it. So, yeah, I have to learn to not be a fish and get hooked, yeah.
Right.
But any other updates? Oh, thanks, bro. New business. I have that, and then I have two other pieces of mail that are applications, not that we can do anything, but we can give input, for two docks. One is at 181 Lewis Lane. And the other is 48 Gillespie. So if anybody has any interest or, you know, input, want to review them, they're right here. I looked at them, I can't say much
What are they?
about them.
Doc.
Docks.
Do they
Oh,
get
they're not.
state approval?
There's
How does it
yeah,
work?
state
With the
permit.
box?
Yeah, so it all goes to the
State
state,
permits.
yeah,
Like a dock.
yeah, so like, yeah,
Yeah,
docks,
you see that.
docks, yeah, docks. Piers, dock, yeah, it's a very lengthy process,
Right.
to get permits through the state. But we have asked to just be able to just review them and.
Is there anything about them that jumps out at you?
What's that?
Is there anything about them that jumps out at you?
I don't see anything,
No.
no,
So.
If they're following the state
they have, yeah,
guidance,
there's,
it's,
they're tight, you know.
cause there's requirements for width and height, and if
Yes.
it's over wetlands and this and that, so. Most of them, as long, they're required to follow that when they're
Yeah.
submitting the permits, so, and if they're going for a general permit, then there shouldn't be any issues with it,
No,
so.
I don't see it.
I have another question for council or for you. Has the budget, so do we have any budget that's available to us right now? Like,
Yes,
well, that could be used for like level
Overlay?
printing costs, any other?
I've only seen for like, conferences and just green team money.
Right, so can I use that green team money for this?
I don't know.
You should be able to.
I don't.
I think that's the whole point.
I know, and this is where it comes year to year, which is the frustrations. A lot of this appropriations are one of the like big event that we do, and it's a lot out of pocket, and then I can't get reimbursed, we can't get reimbursed, and it's, or, you know.
I think,
As far as I know, we're operating still on the budget that we were allocated, you know, for 23.
Those monies have to be spent by December 31st though.
Yeah.
So these would be for the new budget.
So this is going, for the new budget. I don't know how that works
But
if
if the
we
budget's
use,
not approved,
Well, it will be in the next session, which is before. And we did do, there's a mechanism by which you do a temporary budget.
okay,
Between when the books close and when the audit is produced. And so I think that would be included in there. It's some percentage of last year's budget.
okay.
So maybe Teresa or Nancy, or maybe you know.
since Low Relive Day now is like a real,
Right.
like in the beginning, I think it was kind of like whatever, but not like just unclear of where. Sure. With new monies, but now that it's been year after year, I would hope that at least we could
Yeah.
get the vendors set up.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And,
You know, the process.
I do know
The
the time,
timeline.
I do, and that's why it's very
That's
crunched.
frustrating. It's always around the same
Well,
time.
it's-
It gets passed too late.
I
and
know.
you're-
And then printing, you know, I mean, we do say printing, like we'll go to Staples and print some of the big stuff, but Staples isn't under.
Well, so if this fall, we get in next year's budget,
Mhm.
a line item to make materials for Love Where You Live Day, then it's done,
Okay.
right?
That definitely should be in place.
But
Yeah.
we gotta bring it up in September, you know,
Okay.
not April, is
Right.
the thing that I've learned.
I feel like we have though, and it's still, we have brought it up every single time there's budget talk in the fall, and this happens every year.
Because the budget's not approved yet,
Yeah.
and we can't get the,
Well, I'm on the finance committee, so I'm very much in the weeds
Okay.
on this, so
so I'm
maybe
gonna
that'll
say
help.
Brian instead.
Yeah,
Okay, September, okay.
you know, I've found that the process is very archaic and it's hard to understand. Not many people understand it. I'm just getting a glimpse.
But there should be some available that we could use if.
Yes.
I reach
That's
out
what I was
to
gonna
them.
say, tomorrow we'll see what the temporary allocation is.
Yeah.
If It's enough.
And you'll
that
let us know
you
what vendor you guys use for printing, or if we need to
use it.
have.
Yeah, just call me
Okay,
tomorrow.
I'll call you. Thank you, Christy.
And let me know what you need printed, because you know I gotta go.
Thank you.
You've got lots of.
I'm new, so forgive me. I'm just trying to understand the process of budgeting. Do we sit and do a strategic plan and like present a budget, what our needs are elsewhere, or is it based on past? Because this conversation sounds like when we need something, we ask for it. So do we have a budget?
We have a budget. We haven't in the past used it, and that's where the disconnect comes. We never really thought about it because we didn't have things to spend money on
Right.
until the green team really came around, and now all they want is money. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Brian,
And so, hold on, John. So now we have projects, you know, to work on that need, you know, to be funded. So that's where it's coming from. We never really had a big, like I said, need for, you know, for a budget, a big budget, which is
It's
probably a
minor.
mistake. So it's really only been to cover our dues, training, anything like that. And I think that's $500. That's, you know, set aside for that.
Does it make sense to use your activities that you're planning or anybody's as a basis to do a budget and then present it
That's what we,
before
yeah,
September?
as of recently, that's what we've been doing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where is the budget? Could I see a copy?
Yeah.
of it?
traditionally, a lot of the large capital items, things that would be the environmental commission would be concerned with, might go through the public works department or into the capital plan. So, you know, things like stormwater management and such. So the budget of the EC was not typically to spend for large improvements. That was typically done through the capital budget.
Right.
Right, it sounds like we're kind of going here for this money and going there for that money. I'm just trying to understand what the process is maybe we could line it and then present to the council something that's reflective of what our needs are this past year.
That's what we've been doing as of late. The issue is that there's a cap on
Yeah.
all the budgets. So typically it's 2%,
2% of,
of our prior year's budget.
you mean an
If we want
increase
to
or?
increase, if we
Oh,
want to
okay.
increase it, unless there's some extenuating circumstance, we're gonna bring it up, you know, somebody from the outside as a consultant for the ERI, stuff like that, which Brian was talking about. So, yeah, but we did have a budget meeting and everybody was asked to kind of come up with a figure, whatever they thought they would need, you know, for projects, but the big stuff, yeah, is covered under the budgets of those departments, DPWs.
Where would I find a copy of our budget?
I'm sure it's online.
Online?
It's like-
It should be.
If he
And as soon as
introduced
it's
budget.
approved at the next council meeting, I will circulate the
No,
seed budget and how it shook out to you guys.
You're welcome, thank you.
What I'm asking is the one that was introduced, I haven't checked if that's online, I would be shocked if it's not.
Oh,
It should be.
It should be.
yeah, that'll be in
The old one is, but
Yeah.
the introduced one.
current budget, yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Yes, John, yeah. All right,
Oh, fine.
any other new business? Public comment, do we have anybody?
Yes. Okay, if you have a question, please use the raise hand feature and I will bring you over. Bonnie?
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Bonnie. Hi, Bonnie.
Thank you so much for discussing the tree ordinance. Really appreciate your support and your desire to make it stronger. Good point, Brian, with having the people cutting down the trees, checking for permits. I mean, I don't understand why that's not required. I remember asking one of the tree companies, do you ask for a permit? And he said, no. And I said, like, that just seems incredible to me. That wouldn't be part of it. I know Little Silver is right in the process of finally getting a tree ordinance. I think they're having a public open house at the end of April. Anyway, they are trying to make a model tree ordinance, so I'm very curious to see what comes out of that discussion. From going nothing to a model tree ordinance, so I'd like to follow that. But it does strike me that maybe the shade tree should be putting what is the value of a tree? Maybe we should have something at Love Where You Live Day. Just trying to encourage people to see trees as the value they provide us all. What I also wanted to ask was, the stormwater runoff. Brian, I was driving down Navesink River Road and right by, and I can't think of what's the little club that's right at the border of Rumson and Fairhaven, that's out on the water.
On Navasing River Road?
Yeah.
Or River
Yeah.
Road?
On River Road.
River Road is.
A little
Central
yacht club. The water pouring in from Rumson, so it's like the low point, and pouring in, so it's pouring from Fairhaven one way, Rumson from the other way. And I thought, no wonder the water quality right there is so bad, because it's like a vortex of stormwater runoff. I don't know that there's anything to be done about that, but it did occur to me when I was in my car, wow. I mean, because wasn't that where the problem was with the quality?
So there's a creek there, and that was, the bad water was coming out of the creek.
Well,
Right.
I would say when these storms come in, it's way more than just that creek. It was coming all the way down the road from Rumson, rushing down the road from Fairhaven. I don't know. And speaking of creeks, Fourth Creek, I was watching, because I live, right near the end of Baton Road, the public dock. I was watching all the birds flying in there, and I was thinking, that is such an incredible estuary. I feel like Fourth Creek should be a focal point for this town. I mean, I know it runs right behind Borough Hall, and all that pollution from that parking lot runs right into it. I feel like it should get more focus, because everything goes into Fourth Creek and then it runs right into the Navasink. And there are so many birds nesting back there. It's like a really special place that maybe should warrant more attention by the town. I don't know, that's just kind of a request, I guess, that if you have any input or any influence.
I mean, with, you know, to go back to your point with the stormwater, the big thing is, you know, picking up after people's dogs and so on and so forth, so that if the water's clean, or somewhat clean, it's not a huge issue, but obviously, you know, and as much as we can cut down on the runoff into the river, it's, you know, it's better. The big thing is what the runoff carries, right? Into the river. Everything goes into the river. No matter where it is, other than the southwest corner, small piece that goes into the other river, the South River. So Fourth Creek, yeah, I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts? I know,
I feel like the Borough parking lot, that parking lot right by Raven and the Peach, like what, all of the, like from Fairhaven Road, it just basically runs downhill past Borough Hall, around the corner, carrying everything and anything right into the creek, right?
yeah, which is true for all the, yeah, true.
I don't know, it just looks to me, feel like,
Yeah, Bonnie and I both live on Batten. I think Fourth Creek to us, because of the proximity, is important. I mean, it's you know, it should be important, like she said, to all of us. I do take issue. I often go down there with my kids and with my dog. And I want to be very clear, I don't take issue with the program. I take issue with the upkeep of the property at the sailing club at the end of Batten. I know that the river rats, I mean, I grew up in Fairhaven, we all did river rats. It's not the point. The point is there's constantly garbage that's there. There's constantly propane tanks that are empty and sitting about 2 feet away from the water's edge. The general upkeep of the area is, it's pretty awful, and there's no tracking of those propane tanks. So there's no sheet that says we have 6 propane tanks in this shed that's 2 feet away from the water. If a storm like we had last week, that's a storm system that sat over our town for 3 days, comes in, all of those are washing away into the Navasink. There's a real lack of due diligence over upkeeping a property that is on the Navasink River. So I think that that's something that you might hear me kind of lean into a little bit now that I'm, you know, that I've been placed on this. You might not want me on that, but it's true. I think that Fourth Creek is incredibly valuable. There are swans, the bird life there is phenomenal. I don't think we do a good enough job taking care of these really important waterways that we should be in charge of. So that's, again, something I'd like to, you know, glom on to, Bonnie. I agree with you on that.
yeah, I mean, even like who is in charge of that area, cleaning it up? I mean, there's the insurance company, I think, is on one side of the bank, right behind Borough Hall and Fourth Creek, and it's just total vines and a mess. There's a little, like, I don't know, fenced in garbage dump there, like there's cans. I don't know. It seems like it's kind of slipped through the cracks, and environmentally, it's not ideal.
So, with the dumpsters, if you're referring to the dumpsters in the back of
Yep.
the Raven and the Peach lot, I've been kind of monitoring them. It was an issue. I don't think it is currently, but I'll look over there and see. That comes down to our enforcement officer, who I said, that, you know, earlier, he's very diligent. So when I call him or text him, he'll run out and check. So when you see something, just, you know, let me know or whatever. you know, let somebody know in an official capacity, and, you know, that those people that are responsible, river rats, will be, you know, held accountable for.
Well, I
I
guess
agree.
I would love to see a, I don't know, just some sort of program to address that. It just seems like a very neglected area, and I don't know, Brian, that I don't know if you could spearhead something, but, or just draw attention to it. I mean, I know your office is right across the street, right? So you know how important it is.
I
I've told you about that lot that is full of knotweed that drives me crazy. That I don't know who, and it's just a pile of weeds. I mean, why is that allowed to be? I don't
You
know.
know,
I've been trying to get a hold of the owner of that property for 2 years to buy it, and, I have not been successful.
but you know, somebody who didn't grow up here and who walked by there all the time, it's really even hard to know that there's a creek back there, right? It's
Yeah.
very overgrown, you don't even really notice it, except for like the little, you know. And you wonder if that could easily be, hey, the environmental commission's put it on like a cleanup day or a volunteer day, like we're
Right
gonna
now.
be at
Earth
4
Day.
right, but like, you know, just to get more people like me, who's like, I didn't even know this really is there. Obviously I do, but somebody who's not on the EC, who doesn't, you know, doesn't really know where that runs to or what the importance of it is. And I get it, that lot, that parking lot, Bonnie, right there, because of the slope and because of the enormity of it, I mean, most of the time it's not even full, but like everything runs right there into it. And it is kind of messy in that area, but imagine if you were to like clean it up and beautify it a little bit, and people would actually see it's there and be a little bit more accessible, then they would be, you know, more willing to take care of it, protect it, you know. And so I also, when we think about what the EDC is and does, and this idea of maybe the rain garden, but perhaps even just doing kind of a cleanup or volunteer day. Could be as simple as that, like the Third Street Trail, you do a cleanup for a couple hours and massive amounts of stuff gets done and people are in good spirits coming out. Imagine if we just like cleanup day at the Fourth Creek, everybody meet, you know, have donuts and coffee in Brian's parking lot and everybody just have a great old day,
Mhm. We can do that.
you know?
Sure.
Very,
Yeah, I mean, Fourth Creek is kind of a sad area. You know, growing up here and running, you know, my little boat back there and playing board games and stuff like that. Obviously, can't do that anymore because the town, in its infinite wisdom, built that wall on the east side of the ramp, and that's what caused the end of the creek to fill up. You know, people have asked me if we could get it dredged. That's not possible, stuff like that, but yeah, we definitely should keep it clean. And if the river rats are not taking care of their property, we need to, you know, stay on it.
And I'm gonna tell you right
And
now,
hold them accountable.
Brian, as a river rat, I'm gonna say that it runs a sailing school. And that's what happens at the end of Baton Road, and we can talk about what things or activities are happening there, but it's actually quite a low impact. If you look at the size of the property,
Yeah,
river rats, it's very large, and the area of
It
use is very small.
and.
Goes
that's
way
also
up the river,
public
way up the river,
launch
the
too,
property.
right, and it's also the public launch, so it's not just,
it's, yeah,
you know.
That's
river
correct.
rats
That's one of the
only-
big problems is the maintenance of the public launch. That is not river rat activity at 4 AM in the morning.
Right,
That is your local fishermen going out and doing their thing, which is fine with
yeah,
me,
but
but that's one of the challenges.
yeah, the ramp right now is not and has not been usable for decades. So we'll keep an eye on it. Like I said, we do have a code enforcement officer who's very,
and
you know, he's very attentive and you know, he's proactive to a point, but he can't be everywhere and see everything, so.
And I mean, Tim Ross, River Rats is a great organization, they come to our Love Where You Live Day every day. It could also just be, hey, can you please be more mindful? You know, I don't think it has to be slap them with a fine, I
Yeah.
think it can just be, an educated more and ask.
It's the same issue that we have with the ball fields, when the
Right,
teams
ask-
play, they leave bottles and,
Which
you know, all
Rex
kinds of
said
stuff.
To the coaches, have
The
every,
coach is responsible
yeah.
for it.
but, and to the coaches, that's what we do at the end of practice now. Everybody pick up one piece of garbage. It's one
Well,
PG.
pick up your own and then, yeah,
But and that came out from DJ and everyone, and it's been successful. So even just something like, hey, River Rats, at the end of your camp, can you remind everybody to clean up your garbage? It's something that.
So Kelly, I love your idea of the volunteer cleanup day. What if you got the river rats, the kids and the families to participate? Because at the end of the day, it pains me when I, see all these kids in the water and, they're falling off their ship, their little sailboats and, learning how to get back up. And I think they're in this water, and if it's not clean, that's not okay. So I just wonder if they have a vested interest in keeping upstream clean and might want to help some way.
Yeah.
Anyway. I also really appreciate Brian going over the budget. I think that the budget needs to be presented to every commission, every committee, and understood by every resident way better than it is now. It's a black hole that nobody really understands. So any transparency there would be great. So thanks, Brian.
thank you, Bonnie.
Any other questions? Please raise your hand. There are none. Anyone from the audience? No.
Alrighty, anything else? With that, we'll motion to adjourn.
Before not. Wow,
Motion to adjourn.
yes.
Second.
Very good.
So moved.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night, thank you.
How did that happen? How did that come out?